Of course, the media is having what I would call it a normal one over Donald Trump's latest rallies, over the polling data, and the debate is coming up tomorrow. We got a bunch of news for you, my friends. First, I love this because the Washington Post says that Trump is pledging to jail his opponents. And they say it's an overt signal that he will not accept the results if he loses in November. And it's just funny because it's like, if he loses, how will he jail his opponents? You know, Trump saying he's going to jail his opponents is him saying he intends to win. Or maybe what his point is that he wants them to be scared. Anybody who might cheat, if you do this and you do not succeed, you're done for. We're going to talk about that, but the first big segment is actually about the latest poll from the New York Times, which has the media losing their minds for a variety of reasons. The New York Times Siena poll shows Donald Trump winning, which is funny because it should show Kamala Harris winning. She should have a 3-point lead if neck and neck, okay? 50-50 is a Democrat with a 3-point lead. Showing Donald Trump with a lead is apocalyptic. Now the predictions are that Kamala Harris's bump is over. The honeymoon phase, whatever you want to call it, is done. And she is now stagnating. Nate Silver has Donald Trump at an improved percentage chance to win. It's getting up there. High 60%. I think, what are we at? Like 64% or higher, actually, maybe around 64%. And then should be interesting. But the most important factor, I think, that we see in the New York Times crosstabs, Gen Z overwhelmingly does not identify as Democrat. This is crazy. The next 20 years in this country are going to be transformative to a tremendous degree. I have long predicted I do not see this Democrat woke worldview surviving for a variety of reasons. I mean, abortion being one of them. But 18 to 29-year-olds right now, and that's younger millennials, not Democrats. Overwhelmingly, Gen Z identifies as independent, which means a lot of things. Probably far left, maybe even far right. Could be Groyper, could be progressive communist, could be middle-of-the-road post-liberals. I got no idea. But it certainly isn't Democrat or Republican. But it does seem like Republican, for the most part, it's kind of stayed where it is. So that'll be interesting. And then we got to talk about the debate. Kamala Harris's team is panicking because, well, this one's really funny. The rules Joe Biden set, Kamala Harris was planning on this. Politico's reporting she was planning on interrupting Donald Trump, fact-checking him, and doing they didn't say this, but we all know it. I'm speaking. Yeah, she's not going to get that moment now because Trump's like, sure, the rules worked fine by me. And it backfired. So this one should be funny. And then we got a couple other stories. This viral story about migrants eating pets and hunting animals. There's a video of a guy taking a seagull and a woman rescues the seagull. And I love this story because there's a picture of a guy carrying a Canada goose. And they're like, what are they doing? The migrants, they're eating birds. And I'm like, yeah, that's what humans do. It's funny because it's more normal to eat a bird than it is to go to a grocery store for a plastic-packed, hormone-fed, overweight, diseased bird. But that's what we do. We go to the grocery store and we're just like, that plastic package of weird pink garbage, I'll eat that. You know, I'm going to add to this, okay? You go to McDonald's, and I know it's called McDonald's, but you go to McDonald's and you get the chicken nuggets, and you're like, this is normal. Meanwhile, a dude hunts a bird, and we're like, what is he doing? Okay, now, to be fair, we have laws against harming migratory birds for a reason, ecological stabilization. We have farms for a reason, so it's out of the norm. But I just think it's kind of funny that people eat dinosaur-shaped chicken wads, and they're like, look at that man eating a bird. I'm like, dude, you can go outside and you can eat leaves, okay? Just figure out which are the right ones. And then I'm going to round this show off today talking about Matt Walsh tricking Robin DiAngelo into paying reparations to his black producer because that would make me laugh. And it's a funny story. So, all right, my friends, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, head over to castbrew.com and buy Cast Brew Coffee. This show is proudly sponsored by Cast Brew Coffee. That's our coffee company. And how much Mr. Bokus we got left? We got 172 Mr. Bokus whole bean, and we've got only 63 bags of the Mr. Bokus Pumpkin Spice Experience Ground. This one makes me emotional, my friends. Mr. Bokus, of course, was one of our mascots. He was a good friend. He was a little friend, and he's dead. He passed on. He had weak kidneys. He was a stray. He was a rescue, and his little kidneys were underdeveloped, and his large adult kitty body could not handle the strain, so that dramatically reduced his lifespan. Due to a heart defect, because he was a stray, grew up on garbage, they could not perform any life-saving surgeries. Yes, We were intending on getting him a kidney transplant to save his life, but they couldn't do it because the strain in his heart was too much. This is the end of the Mr. Bokus pumpkin spice experience. And we thought we were going to have it. We talked about how it'd be forever, but we thought it only appropriate that once it's gone, it's gone. But we are going to make a memoriam for Mr. Bokus, Focus with Mr. Bokus espresso blend. And so it does make me emotional to see that this is the end of the Mr. Bokus run. Very sad. Also, head over to Timcast.com, click join us to become a member and support our work directly. This is what funds all of the work we do here at Timcast.com. I would say, not fair to say all, but we do have sponsors. But overwhelmingly, we are a member-driven platform. And we don't do the sponsors mid-show like every other podcast. Perhaps we should, perhaps we could, but for now we don't. And as long as you guys are members and you support our work, then then we don't have to. But I will also stress we are working on a lawsuit against the Harris campaign for defamation, for making insane claims about me. And that continues, although there are certainly big stories in the news where, I'll just, oh boy, we need your support today at timcast.com. And you'll get access to the Discord server to hang out with like-minded individuals. And you can hang out for our members only after show. And it's greatly appreciated your support. But let's do this. Let's jump into the news. From the Washington Post, Trump pledges to jail opponents, baselessly suggests election will be stolen from him. The former president's latest threats made in a social media post represent the most overt signal yet that he will not accept the result if he loses in November. If in November he loses. I just want to stress this point because I love it so much. If Trump loses, how will he jail anyone? What's the implication here? It's a signal that Trump won't accept the election. You're making that up. Trump is saying when he wins, he's going to go after fraudsters. He's implying he intends to win. If he doesn't win, I don't understand what the point you're trying to make is. Because Trump is saying anybody who wants to commit fraud, he'll arrest. He's saying that despite the fraud, he's going to win and he's going to arrest the fraudsters. So what does it mean he won't accept the results? Are they implying they expect him? This is funny, actually. The alternative would be that Donald Trump loses the election in 2 months, challenges the results, overturns the election results, becomes president, and then arrests people. Okay, that would be pretty crazy. WAPO says Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump threatened to jail people involved in unscrupulous behavior related to voting in the 2024 election, suggesting without evidence that the election could be stolen from him, and prompting widespread condemnation from election officials who said such rhetoric could provoke violence. Oh, spare me, man. You guys are crazy. Trump's remarks made it into a social media posting on Saturday night, represent the most overt signal yet that he may not accept the results in November if he loses. Oh, now it's may not? You see how they do that? That he will not. Yeah, they change things. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how much that matters. Newsmax reports Trump leads Harris going into the debate. And this is huge. Huge. The first major poll after Vice President Kamala Harris's lone sit-down interview has shown a reversion back towards Mr. Trump as Donald Trump leads the New York Times Siena College poll going into Tuesday's lone debate. Trump's lead nationally among likely voters is just 1 point within the margin of error. But even the Times noted Trump's support remains remarkably resilient despite positive media buzz after Harris taking the Democratic crown from President Joe Biden and the Democratic National Convention. I will add, Kamala has finally unleashed a policies page on her website 2 months out from the election. And we'll get into that in the next segment. I'll go through all of that, but perhaps too little too late. They're going to say notably Democrats historically have an edge in support in national polls due to large strangleholds on registered voters in the largest blue states of California and New York that do not impact the Electoral College, but can skew the popular vote and a national poll. Whatever the explanation, the Times Siena poll would be one of the first opportunities to pick up a reversion back towards Trump, according to the New York Times. Here's what I love about this. You got this tweet from Rich Barris, the People's Pundit, and he says, last month when the New York Times poll published unrealistic results favoring Kamala Harris, you didn't see them write up an article questioning those results, did you? They are now at least the fourth media organization to do that this year, following ABC, NBC, and Bloomberg. That is to say, for some reason, when the media organizations run polls that favor Kamala Harris, they say nothing. But when the polls favor Trump, they come out and equivocate and make excuses and say, well, actually, I mean, this just means, and it couldn't be true. Huh? Here's what I love about this. On Reddit, you pop over to the 538 subreddit. Okay, 538, here's what they say. 538 delivers analysis of politics from campaign fundraising on election day and beyond. This sub follows 538 content, former 538 contributors, as well as a wider world of political data analytics. Sounds fairly neutral and nonpartisan. Why I'd like to know what's going on with the polling. Is Donald Trump going to win? Maybe I can turn to good old 538 and see what they have to say in this forum. Here's one. If the latest Kamala polls have got you down, what gives you the most hope that she can bring her numbers back up by November? Huh? Why is a supposedly neutral subreddit forum for political analysis upset that Kamala is losing in the polls? And if you look at Nate Silver, he's a Democrat guy, but when he does the assessments, he's not saying, I am crying here that Kamala is down. He just says, here's what the numbers show. Have fun. And this is the guy from 538. Now he's doing Silver Bulletin. But we're supposed to get neutral analysis, right? So why are all these forums and outlets being like, I am sad that Kamala is losing? You should just be like, okay, I guess. Hyperpolarization. This is the world that we live in currently. It's obvious that corporate mechanized machine state institutions want Kamala to win, and that's the name of the game. Now, how can you trust what they're saying if that's the case? And don't get me wrong. You say, Tim, why would I trust you? Huh? You want Trump to win. You're not a neutral player in this whole thing. Yeah, I'm not claiming to be. I'm not doing analysis on the election. I mean, no, to be fair, I am. I'm not doing data analysis. I'm doing opinion, rhetoric, and commentary. So if you think I'm giving you math, well, look to Nate Silver. He does a pretty good job, if you ask me. Nate Silver is pretty good. And we have two big players right now. We have Lichtman's feel-good analysis for Democrats, which is based on his opinion, which makes no sense. And then you have Nate Silver's data-driven analysis, which favors Donald Trump and seems to be rather impartial. I wonder why it is. They call Lichtman the Nostradamus of politics. He's got 9 of the 10 elections correct, of the last 10 elections. Correctly predicted them. It's kind of wild to see. He says Kamala Harris is going to win. His assessment literally makes no sense. Big Lots filed for bankruptcy. And this guy's like, the economy's great. And I'm like, we have LL Flooring. We've got Home Depot missed profits. I think they're doing okay. You've got Big Lots now. All these stores are shutting down. Yo, what are you talking about? Saying the economy is good. Well, he's using specific metrics. But then we got the jobs report revision down nearly 1 million jobs. We got to talk about this stuff. But first, we'll start with hope for those who want Trump. Silver Bulletin. I do think that's funny how Nate Silver did that. Silver Bulletin. You see, he's a funny guy. He says, let's go to the chase. Who's going to win? Well, honestly, we don't know, but we can give you our best probabilistic guess. The model is the direct descendant of the 538. So who's ahead right now? The Silver Bulletin polling averages are a little fancy. They adjust for whether polls are conducted among registered or likely voters, the presence or absence of RFK Jr. and House effects. They weigh more reliable polls more heavily, and they use national polls to make inferences about state polls and vice versa. It requires a few extra CPU cycles, but the reward is a more stable average that doesn't get psyched out by outliers. Currently, Kamala Harris is ahead in the polls by 2.5 points. However, she needs 3 to be stable. 3 is the margin for Democrats. Take a look at this. How has it changed over time? The current polling margins. Trump is ahead in North Carolina, Arizona, Florida, and Texas. I don't think Florida's a big deal. Don't get me wrong. But now it's basically, Florida's basically a red state. So check this out. Here are the changes. Pennsylvania has moved Republican by 0.8 from last month, 0.9 from last week. Let's just do the last week. Michigan moved Republican 0.4. Georgia moved Republican 1. North Carolina moved Republican 0.8. Wisconsin 1.1. We've got Arizona 1.5. Nevada 0.3. Everything is starting to skew towards the Republicans. That's massive. The end result, when you look at the electoral college probability, Donald Trump is at 63.8% to win the electoral college in this model, with Harris's 36%. Giving a prediction of 281.1 electoral votes to Trump, with Harris at 256.9. Now, take a look at the margin of error. It could go any way. It could be Harris down all the way to the floor, It could be her all the way up to 350. We don't know. The fascinating thing about this is you can see the margins have been tightening more and more. If you go back to August, you can see that Trump had a wider margin of failure to lose, and Kamala had a wider margin to win, but now it's narrowed completely. Though Trump is favored to win, the margin still shows that Trump has some room to lose. He really does. The popular vote likely is going to Kamala Harris, but once again, we don't know for sure. If Harris drops down to like 47 and Trump up to 50, well, there you go. What do you expect? The New York Times reports Trump and Harris neck and neck after summer upheaval, Times Siena poll finds. The survey finds that Donald Trump Jr. is retaining his support and that on the eve of the debate, voters are unsure they know enough about where Kamala Harris stands. Seeing this poll is absolutely fascinating. They're losing their minds. They cannot live in a world where Donald Trump wins. And, oh boy. I did this deep conversation to American foreign policy. But, I've taken stock of things over the past week. And it really does seem like with everything going on and as we get closer to the election, the bigger picture is laid out before us. And as I've simply put it for years now, here's the analogy that I like to use. We are in an old car. It's called the liberal economic order, and it's been around since the 50s. The idea was to create this international power structure to prevent World War III. That was the general idea. We're in this old car, and it's breaking down. Donald Trump's strategy represents pull the car over, tune up the engine, fix the tires. Otherwise, this thing is going to crash, and we're going to be stranded. Democrats, the uniparty establishment, and the reason I don't say Kamala is because it's obvious Trump is running against a system, not a candidate. They represent no, pedal to the metal, floor it. We can't let Russia, China, and our adversaries beat us in this race, even if it means blowing the engine and crashing or flying off the cliff. So where are we now? Take a look around you. It's fairly obvious. The jobs report revises down at nearly 1 million jobs. All of these big chains, not all of them, but many big chains are starting to shutter and declare bankruptcy. The economy's not doing well. And we have 15 to 20 million illegal immigrants coming in over the past several years. Mass illegal migration. It all adds up. In order to maintain the mass spending machine where we strip money from the economy, from savings, to fund massive wars like the war in Ukraine and fund Israel, to maintain the liberal economic order, to expand it, you have to bring in more and more workers to maintain that economic activity. People have to be buying and trading. But U.S. fertility rates are averaging around 1.6 as of last year. It's way down. You need 4 workers to maintain 1 Social Security recipient. The system is buckling in on itself. So again, Donald Trump says pull the car over. What does that mean? Secure our borders, better trade agreements, bring our troops back. If we don't hunker down and do it now, we are going to face a long fall. But if we focus on building up our economy, maintaining our economic system, strengthening the dollar, we very well may pull back. The democratic system says no. China and Russia together are expanding rapidly. They're strangling out our interests in the Middle East and in Europe. We have to do everything we can by any means necessary. And that means full-scale war. That means everything. That means allowing in 15 to 20 million illegal immigrants who will come into this country because it generates, I'm going to put it this way. If you thought 2008 was bad, the housing crisis, let me tell you, watch The Big Short as they explain how the system busted. You have these mortgage-backed securities, and trust me, this will all make sense. I'm laying out my case. You got these AAA rated these mortgages. This is a well-to-do family. They can pay their bills. You bundle all those mortgages and you sell securities based on them, saying these things are valuable. We're going to profit off this. These families ain't going nowhere. They got good jobs, their credit ratings are high, and they're paying the bills. Then what happens is you get a few of the double A's, the single A's. They're not so good, but they're probably good bets. What happens when you get into the B's, C's, and D's? These are the dirty ones, the people with bad credit ratings who were given loans. It makes no sense. Why were they given these loans? Well, here's what they do. They bundle up some of the bad ones with the good ones to average it out and say it's still pretty good now, despite the fact half may collapse. Then it gets worse. And that's why The Big Short's great. And it could be relatively wrong, but the analogy stands. You take all of the bad ones, all the D's and C's, and bundle them together and then sell something else. What do they call it? Collateralized debt obligations or whatever, CDOs. I've seen the movie a couple times. The general idea is this. When they were trying to figure out how to prop up the system and make money, they started putting bad credit ratings into good, or bundling bad to make it look good, like it's diversified. Is that what it was? Diversified? I don't know. And so what happens then is eventually one by one defaults start coming in. These mortgage-backed securities break and it rips through the whole system and the market collapses. Now, again, they explain it better in the movie. They may not be explaining it properly, but just take that analogy and now factor in this. Our economy is in trouble. There's no question about it. I've got this. Look at this one. Discount retailer with 1,400 stores files for bankruptcy as stock halves value in minutes. Big Lots filing for bankruptcy. This is crazy. So what does this mean? As the Democrats seek to remedy this crisis because they can't afford the mass expansion of war, they can't afford the liberal economic order war machine or funding all the bills for NATO, they say, bring in as many people as possible, open the border, let them come and give them work permits. We need them working. We need them to have tax identification numbers, which are Social Security, effectively Social Security numbers. We need the tax revenue to prop this machine up. The only problem is these people are not high-skill workers. They are effectively pulling off what was happening in The Big Short, bringing in lower value, lower credit rating individuals. And I mean no disrespect, but you can't compare a farm laborer to an American tradesman or college-educated worker or someone working in advanced sciences. We are talking about low-skill labor being pushed into the machine. This can't work in the long run because you displace American low-skill workers. And again, I'm not saying that these people coming in are stupid or anything like that. I'm saying wealthy individuals, high skill, like Nigeria, for example. People talk about why is it that Nigerian migrants into the United States do so well? Well, it's because they were the wealthy in Nigeria. They were successful, smart, hardworking, and they bought visas and they came to America. So you are likely seeing the best and the brightest of that nation moving here, and they're moving here legally and with money. The people who are coming here illegally are not the best and brightest from a brain drain from another country. They're laborers looking for an opportunity to get paid more, and they will. But this is effectively the same thing. Propping up our economy with lower credit rating and low skill. It may work in the short term, but we are doomed to a 2008 style massive American economic collapse if they think that's what's going to prop this system up. It will not work. But you know what? Maybe that don't matter. Maybe the system is just crumbling, whether it's the immigration problem, or anything else. The powers that be are struggling to maintain the liberal economic order. They don't know how to do it, and they don't know what else to do. But they've failed. I go over this all the time, reading all the news in my head. They do not see this. They do not know how to maintain this system. Take a look at the crosstabs from the New York Times poll. Take a look at this. Do you think the United States is on the right track or the wrong track? 18 to 29-year-olds, 29% wrong track, right track, 58% wrong track. It's kind of crazy. Across the board, it's all pretty much the same. Among white Gen Z, it's 64% wrong direction. It's lower for black voters, 41% wrong direction. I don't care too much about that, though. I want to go down, looking at these crosstabs, and let's take a look at this. Combined presidential ballot includes leaners. If the 2024 presidential election were held today, who would you vote for if the candidates were Kamala? I like how they did that. Kamala. They spell her. They're really angry. People are calling her Kamala. Kamala Harris, Donald Trump. Among men, overwhelmingly for Trump. Among Gen Z, 51% say Kamala, 43% say Trump. Among 30 to 44s, it leans that way. But it inverts, interestingly. 45 to 64 is leaning for Trump by 9 points. And 65 plus leans for Trump 6 points. Remember that because that one's really interesting. So when they add other candidates, it doesn't really make a difference. Jill Stein scores a few points. But are you definitely or probably going to vote for candidates selected. 18 to 29-year-olds, 64% definitely, 34% probably. How about that one? The older you get, the more likely they are to vote. Now, let's scroll down, and I want to find here you go. Voter demographics is where it matters most. Do you consider yourself Democrat, Republican, an independent, or a member of another party? 18 to 29-year-old. 26% say Democrat. 31% say Republican. 34% say independent. That's incredible. The largest share of Democrats, 65 plus. Largest share of Republicans, 45 to 64. But the second largest, 65. I'm sorry, that's wrong. 65 plus is the largest share of Republicans. Second to 45 to 64. What's interesting, though, is where we end up. 30 to 44-year-olds are overwhelmingly independent. That's their number one, followed by 18 to 29-year-olds. I feel like in 10 to 20 years, this country is going to be very different. The possibility of a third-party candidate winning is getting more and more likely. Here's the worrying thing about this. When they say independent 34%, I think it's important for you to understand this doesn't mean that they're all moderate-minded individuals being like, well, I just think both sides have some things right and some things wrong. It means that there's a lot of them who are far left, who are screaming from the river to the sea, and there are people on the right who are independent, also screaming from the river to the sea. And then you have people like me, middle-of-the-road people. It's all jumbled together. What it's really showing is that the cohesion between Democrats and Republicans is breaking down. 30 to 44, independent. That's the largest share. Let me stress this. The largest share of voters in this poll are independents. Now that I find fascinating. Well, I'm sorry. That actually totally, I phrased that totally incorrectly. That's actually not the case. The largest share among 30 to 44 are independent, was what I mean. But when you look across the board, the older you get, the more it's two-party aligned. The younger you get. So let me clarify. What I mean to say is, among 18 to 29-year-olds, the largest share is independent. So 10 to 20 years in the future, this is what I think we'll see. Correction. As of right now, Republican is the largest share. So with independent voters looking at independent voters in the civics poll, actually, we could probably look at it in the crosstabs as well, favor the Republican worldview 2-1. It looks very much like a Republican victory, and Nate Silver is correct. Then how do we end up with this Lichtman prediction? This guy's bonkers. He's bonkers, okay? He's bonkers. Harris will beat Trump, says election prediction legend Alan Lichtman. Now, far be it from me to question the Nostradamus of politics, they call him. I do think it's funny because Nostradamus is famously vague and incorrect in most of his predictions. They say Alan Lichtman predicts Harris will win. Correctly predicted 9 out of 10 of the elections. He predicted Trump would beat Hillary Clinton. I got to give him credit for that one because no one saw that coming and they mocked him for it. They said, yeah, nuts. Well, I mock him now, but I take it seriously. However, I have questions. Let's jump down. We've gone over this several times. There's a few things I want to address. They say there is no serious contest for the incumbent party nomination. True. If 6 or more of these keys, he calls them, are false, the challenger wins. Okay. He says there was no serious contest for the incumbent party nomination. You had RFK Jr. They booted him from the primary to block him. That's how serious it was. I call that false. So party man, that's 2 false. The incumbent party candidate is sitting president, false. That's 3. There is no significant third party or independent campaign. There isn't now. So I'll say true to that one. Short-term economy. The economy is not in a recession during the election campaign. True. Now, here's my question. Is this just flubbed numbers? Big Lots filed for bankruptcy. I don't understand their metrics. Look, the question I have for this key right here is, are we talking about what the government says versus what people feel? Because if he's like, no, all that matters is what the government says. Polling on how people feel about the economy doesn't matter. Okay, I guess. Then fine. Then we're still just at, what does that give us? 3? 3 falses. But if we're talking about how people feel about the economy, which influences how they vote because people vote based on feelings, Breaking news this morning, Big Lots is filing for bankruptcy. What did it say? 1,400 locations? Is it 1,400 stores? Come on. That's not a sign of a healthy economy. And you've got LL Flooring and a bunch of other big stores. Home Depot missing profits. I don't understand how he's saying we're not in a recession officially. Okay, then I'll just say this. If it's based on feelings, that one's a false. People are worried about what they're seeing. And more to the point, if they're saying there's no recession, yet Big Lots is like, we don't have any money. I don't know what those numbers are based on when big stores are shutting down. To be fair, it may not be that we're in a recession, but that nobody shops at box stores anymore. This will still affect people's jobs. People who work at Amazon are not going to replace the jobs lost at Big Lots when people at 1,200 stores, how many employees are they going to have each? 40 to 50 maybe? So we're talking about all those jobs lost if those stores break down. But maybe the changing landscape. So, long-term economy, same thing. But I do love this. Here we go. Policy change. The incumbent administration affects major changes in national policy. True, he says. Okay, well, if I can bring it back just to the good old New York Times poll, the most damning, says Election Wizard. Voters overwhelmingly see Harris as more of the same, while they see Trump as major change. 55% of voters say Harris bears some or a lot of the blame for rising prices. In a change election. So he says, policy change. The incumbent administration affects major changes in national policy equals true. Now hold on there, gosh darn minute. The latest New York Times poll, be it just one poll, suggests that people see Kamala Harris as not affecting change. So false. That would give us four or five falses for Trump. Not to mention, let's just be nice on the economy and say this, okay? Party mandate is false. Contest is false. He says true, but there was a serious challenge for it. Now, his rule is at the convention, but they blocked the convention. They shut it down to prevent this. So I no way. That's false, false, false. Three falses. Okay? I'm going to give him the economy, even though I think it's wrong. Policy change is false. That's 4. Social unrest. There is no sustained social unrest during the term. These Palestine protests. 5. False. He says it's true. They've been protesting nonstop at these universities. It's been huge. No major scandals. They booted the president. He won the primary and they kicked him out for the VP. That's a major scandal. Not to mention Abbey Gate and Afghanistan. So that's boom, right there. 6. Trump should win. Not to mention foreign military failure. The incumbent administration suffers no major military failures. False. What are we at now? 7. Military successes. They have a success. False. 8. This keys to the election should predict a Donald Trump victory, even if we give him the economy. We can say the economy is fine. Believe it. The numbers say that is fine. Doesn't matter how people feel. But all these other things are false. So I got to tell you, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just a crazy person. But Nate Silver's got Trump at 63.8 to win. I got no idea, man. I got no idea. This does not take into account procedural issues. Donald Trump wins if he can overcome the procedural issues. It doesn't matter what people think. It doesn't matter what they want. Certainly it matters in a moral sense. It matters how many pieces of paper with your name on it they're able to collect. And Democrats figured that out a long time ago. That's why ballot harvesting is a thing. So while Trump is out there trying to win a debate, which is good, we should win the debate, Democrats are like, look, we ain't going to win no debate. Just fill out the cards. Get as many as you can. Tomorrow is going to be very interesting. We got a special show. We're going to be hanging out with members of Congress in D.C. as we comment on the debate live, real time. This one will be absolutely fascinating. I don't know how Kamala wins. They're saying, people are saying it's going to be neck and neck. Are you kidding? Have you heard Kamala Harris speak? She can't go head to head with the boss. That's what they call Trump. They call him the boss. How's she going to go up against Trump? He's a made-for-TV personality. I heard this on Fox this morning, too. It was Pete Buttigieg saying it. Kamala Harris might be able to sit down and write down on a piece of paper or something that could be construed as a good answer. But if the question is, can she present that answer? I don't see it flying. Not to mention, and I know the left is going to lose their mind and call this sexist, not to mention, she's a woman, she's short, and she's South Asian and black. Now, the left is going to say Tim Pool says racist, sexist things. No. I'm accusing people of being racist. I love this. When I said there's a real bias against women, these leftists called me sexist. I was like, what? I'm saying sexism exists, and there are people who are not going to vote for a woman. That's just reality. Maybe that's what happened to Hillary to a large degree. Trump was not favorable. He narrowly won in 2016. Now, a lot of people say, no, he got 301 electoral votes. Yeah, but it was like, what, 70? It was like 80,000 votes across 3 states or some small number. Same thing in 2020, just by a hair. I think the reality is there are a lot of people, they won't tell you this publicly, but they will not vote for a woman. They don't want to sound politically incorrect, but privately they're like, I ain't voting for a woman. And that's Kamala. I think that plays against her. So when she's down in the polls, you need to consider 2 things. The secret Trump voter. It's politically incorrect to support Trump. It's becoming more and more politically correct. And it is politically correct to support a female person of color. But you're going to have the secret Trump voter who comes out and says, oh, I'm not going to vote for Trump. I'm voting for Trump. I know there's a bunch of celebrities already saying this. Publicly, they're like, Trump is bad. Privately, they're like, I want less taxes. Then you got Harris. And there are going to be people being like, yeah, I'll vote for Harris. And then go in the booth and be like, I ain't voting for a woman. Because people are sexist. So we'll see. Let's get ready for the next segment. We're going to go to your super chats. So make sure you get your super chats in now. With the debate coming up, Harris's team is worried she'll be handcuffed by debate rules set by Biden. This one's funny. Kamala Harris has put out her policy positions, and we're going to go through them. I'm loving seeing like the Democrats be like, this is great. Her plan is good. Okay, I'll go through it. I will give a fair assessment. I ain't here to rag on concepts and ideas. I will rag on whether I trust this person or not. That's a different story. But in the meantime, my friends, we have your super chats to read, which we will. We will read your super chats. So smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel right now. Head over to Timcast.com. Click join us. Become a member to support our work directly. You as members make all this possible. And so you can become a member and watch our uncensored members only show, which is 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, right after IRL. Let's get it. What do we got? Not your buddy guy says, never forget General Flynn cooperated. I wish you all the best. And we all must pray that Trump wins, because if he doesn't, being in a van down by the river won't save anyone from the persecution. Ah, yes, but being in a catamaran in the Caribbean island just might. Not that anyone could afford that. Actually, what you can get I was looking at catamarans, and you can get like an old one for a couple $100,000. And I know immediately people are like, that's expensive. No, dude, you finance these things. You don't just, and you can live in them. It's crazy. I went on one. We chartered one. It was fun. And 4 bedrooms. That's nuts. 4 bedrooms. That's so crazy. Man, that's so cool. They're not like the biggest bedrooms. They fit a bed and a TV, but that's pretty awesome. Catamarans. So, and they got a kitchen, and you got the back deck. Imagine that. Instead of buying a house for $300,000, you get a boat. The reality is maintaining those boats is very difficult, and then you get storms, and then who knows, your house might capsize. Not a catamaran. They're pretty stable, but still, you get the point. Although they are very, very fun. I have revised my position is what I'm saying. No longer am I concerned about living in a van down by the river. I'm now concerned about living in a catamaran on the river. I actually don't know if you want to put a catamaran on the river, to be completely honest. A big one you probably could. Nothing out here, though. But how based would it be? Just imagine. You're on a boat. You're going down the East Coast, chilling, sails. You're not using any fuel. You're just sailing. And, you just go down. It's warm weather, and you sit on your boat. You sail to some uncharted island where you grab fruit, and the whole world burns. It's not ideal. Not in the least bit. But at least you're not anywhere near it. All right. Alan Choi says, Tim, what will you make of Will Chamberlain tweeting, quote, at this point, every right-wing anti-Semite should be presumed to be on someone's payroll if it's not an authentic movement. A little absolutist. I do think it's I talked about this from when I worked at Fusion. The way all influence modeling works is that you don't pay someone to say the things you want. You find someone saying the things you want and you pay them. That's how corporate news works. People think that journalists sitting in these newsrooms are being told by the CIA what to do. No. The ideologues are just propped up by powerful interests. They find an editor-in-chief who is overwhelmingly left, who believes in a worldview as this. That editor-in-chief then hires everyone of similar worldview, and that's how you craft narrative. It's plausible deniability. It's the smartest way to do it. The CIA used to go to journalists and be like, write a story, but they learned their lesson. Control the institutions from the top, and the bias of the individuals will flow down, and the narrative will follow. Kalishnikov says Springfield, Ohio has been fully overran by Haitian migrants. You should look into the matter. I do have a story on coming up about them eating birds, which I find funny. Dapper McStash says, real talk, why do the polls even matter? I thought we proved they're useless and meaningless, nothing. So why do we cheer then when Trump is up and shrug it off when he's down? It's inconsistent. I certainly don't shrug it off when he's down. I think the polls were largely incorrect in 2016, and they largely are incorrect today, but they can be tracked. They can be weighted against the past two elections. So what you do is you take a look at the actual results in 2016 versus the projected results. Then you take a look at the projected results in 2020 and the actual results. You take a look at the difference. And the first thing you do is real simple arithmetic. You just say, here's the bias. And we add that into what may be the case this time around. That is, Democrats have been favored in the polls. Last time around, I think it was fairly favorable to Democrats, but still more accurate than 2016. Now, understand as well, these pollsters were embarrassed by 2016. And so they're actively trying to address their polling models. I think polls are fine. I think betting markets are better because it shows you what's called the wisdom of the crowd. But I'm tracking Nate Silver. And that's why I also said when it came to the New York Times poll, it's just one poll. They ask a bunch of people, here's what you get. We'll see. Who knows? Opinion changes. All right. Kendall says, what do you think about Nikocado Avocado tricking the internet? He was skinny this whole time. Huge L for fat acceptance. Is that true? He wasn't skinny the whole time. Is that what he's saying? Or is that what happened? I don't know. I don't know nothing about it. Ryan says, are you going to sue Cenk into ruin for defamation? I don't know what he said. I'll have to have my lawyers look into it, I guess. I don't know. As the story goes, my friend, if people are wondering what that's about, you may have seen the big news. It's crazy story. Timcast is a totally independent entity that is funded without any outside investment or funders. Its sponsorship and membership is the principal funding. And then we have various other podcasts. So Timcast includes the morning show and the night show. Culture War, Inverted World, Boonies, they're different companies. And then we had the Culture War podcast. The Culture War was licensed to Tenet Media. The DOJ has indicted two RT employees for FARA violations, foreign agent violations, and money laundering through a U.S.-based company. At no point did I or this company or anybody accept any money from Russians. But as the DOJ indictment alleges, the money that was used to start an American company headed up by a prominent, known conservative personality who worked for The Blaze and was a TPUSA contributor it was secretly funneled through shell companies and other nefarious means. And that's wild. So look, man, it's kind of funny because the people who hate me still hate me, and the people who like me still like me, and I don't know. We'll see how the story develops. What I can say in its entirety is none of it has any bearing on Timcast. This is a totally independently run show that makes it makes good amounts of money and is able to fund and operate with around 40 or so employees and contractors and expand and own multiple properties. And this is all through general ad reads and website members. That's it. And guess what? We track all the tax data. We know who everybody is, and it's all just rather mundane. It's unfortunate what we're seeing in the news, but maybe I'll have more updates for you in the future, as it appears the DOJ is still investigating And I hope they bring to justice the criminals. Let's go. William Robinson says, update, SC schools are on alert for threats on social media, and apparently many in Tennessee are closed today for the same reason. This is stupid. It's time to homeschool all kids and get rid of the Department of Education. Yeah. All right. We'll grab a couple more, and then we'll jump to this next story. Voice of the People says, have you read the UN document from 2000 called Replacement Migration? It is a solution to an aging and declining population. Interesting read. Look, there are a lot of people who believe there is a criminal ideological conspiracy that hates white people and all this stuff. I actually don't think it's an anti-white thing. I think it's more of an indifference. They don't care. I think the powers that be who write things like this only care about numbers, and they're bad at it. And so they don't care if it's American as apple pie. They don't care if the person comes from Honduras. We do. We like American apple pie and baseball. We like our culture. We want to share these things with our children, with our friends, with our families, because they make us feel good. And it's ingrained in us. Why? It's a part of humanity that the things that you held on to as you grew up help you to survive. And so these are the cultural things that we want to pass down to our children. That's why we do it. There are a lot of people in the machine state who simply say, no, we need more workers to increase the tax numbers. That's it. And so they'll bring in anybody. They don't care. But that's detrimental to the culture. More importantly, you can't weigh the economic value of a high-skilled American worker or even a tradesman or a low-skilled worker with that of third-world low-skilled labor. All that will do is displace low-skilled labor in the country. You're not... Let me tell you, my friends, if you've got, let's say 20% of your retirees are high-skilled labor. I think it's around 20%. It might be less. Replacing... So let's say 10 people retire. 20% are the bottom of the barrel. They struggled to work at all. They were receiving benefits the whole time. 60% are moderate workers, middle class, and from the lower end of the middle to the middle high of skill. And then 20% are high skill labor. Those 10 people retire. The machine state says, bring in 10 people from Guatemala. Those are all low end labor. Nothing's replacing the high end. So I've told this story before. Charlestown Races, the racetrack in Charlestown, used to have a restaurant where you could order food and watch the horse races. You'd go down, you'd bet on a horse. You could bet 10 cents. You could bet $100, whatever you want to do. It's fun. It's silly. You put $1 on the horse, the silly name, you order dinner, and then everyone watches, and it's entertainment while you're eating your food. They shut the restaurant down. They don't have any more employees. It's not super high-skilled labor to do, but they don't have anyone to run it. So I'm not saying that it's the highest skilled labor to run a restaurant, but we're having a managerial crisis as the people who used to do these things have retired, and the younger people can't just step up into that role and make it work. Not to mention the economic downturn. All right. Pirate Skeleton says Lichtman is applying the fortification factor to the Kamala numbers. Maybe. He might be sitting here thinking like, there's no way they're letting Trump win. So I'll just say she wins. Or Lichtman may just be watching MSNBC. Jad says conservative values say work hard, have a family, raise them with your values, repeat. Leftist elites say use them and abuse them, then tell them not to have children. We don't need them. Let the rest of the world have children. We will take them. YouTube censoring. Emax Tactical says Lichtman's keys to the election are perception-based for the left, not fact-based. If it's perceived that his keys are correct by the left, then they are. Logic, reason, and fact-based evidence means nothing to them. But he's been right 9 out of 10 times. Does that mean that this time he's wrong? Well, let me tell you. The 9 out of 10 times, he didn't have this, except for, no, I don't know. The last 2, the machine has been busted. But who knows? He predicted Trump was going to win. So, yeah. Way more, the Outlaw says, I feel like the economy is being set up to fall hard, like a Jenga tower with only one block. Yeah, well, I got to be honest. When I play Jenga, I like to pull the bottom 2 out, then grab the middle piece right on the very bottom and just pull it real quick. And the whole thing goes, And then everyone gives you a look like, you didn't need to do that. We get it. And it's like, haha, that's fun. No, I agree. And a lot of people are saying the housing market is on the verge. So we shall see, my friends. We shall see, my friends. All right, let's try and grab two more. Josh Bellamy says the economy is worse than we are being told. I work for a major appliance brand going to major retailers. Over the last 8 months, I've had employees tell me they've seen a decrease in customers. Cubicle Investor says, I work for a flooring company. A lot of companies are offloading old inventory to liquidators. Flooring has been struggling for over a year. Construction is slowing and consumers are strapped. Man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump to this next story from Politico. We got this from Politico. Harris team is worried she'll be handcuffed by debate rules set by Biden. Oh, boy. They thought that by muting the mics, they were going to prevent Trump from butting in, and this would give Biden a leg up. It didn't work. It made Trump look more presidential and calm and humble. Kamala Harris desperately begged. They were like, we want the mics on the whole time. And Trump's like, wow, we already agreed to the rules. I'm fine with them. And Kamala said, no, turn the mics on, because she really needed that. I'm speaking. I am speaking. And she's not going to get it. Politico actually writes this. Look at this. Kamala Harris had planned to object, fact check, and directly question Donald Trump while he was speaking during their debate next week. But now, with rules just finalized to mute the candidates when their opponent speaks, campaign officials said Harris advisors are scrambling to rewrite their playbook. Harris and her team holed up in Pittsburgh for a multi-day debate camp. Wanted unmuted microphones so that the vice president could lean on her prosecutorial background, confronting the former president in the same way she laced into some of Trump's Supreme Court nominees. Instead, 4 Harris campaign officials argued that she will be handcuffed by the rules, which were negotiated by Joe Biden's team earlier in the summer. Trump's worst moments in the debates are when he gets upset and snaps, said an aide to Harris at her 2020 presidential campaign, granted anonymity to speak freely, and they have neutered that. Oh, man. Dude, look, I'm sorry. Democrats in the machine state, they don't know what they're doing. They have lost control. Unless. My favorite conspiracy being Trump is the actual deep state, and he's only pretending not to be the deep state so that we are tricked into voting for him. I don't know. You got to admit, they sure got a whole bunch of old school liberal, anti-war, anti-establishment people waving the American flag. But I'm happy with it if that's the case. If the real plan the whole time was that Donald Trump was going to be seen as the moderate, reasonable candidate, then I'm glad they did it. It's a good thing. Great. Let's get a Trump presidency. I don't believe that's the case. I believe the machine state lost control because they have an aging population they can't maintain, and importing people to replace them economically is not going to guarantee a voter base. And they're losing what they missed. And this is massive. When they decided they could bring in illegal immigrants to buffer their electoral college vote count, to pad the numbers, they forgot that they needed cultural victories. They're thinking, look, if 650,000 people in a district are U.S. voters and 100,000 are non-citizens, they're going to give us an electoral college vote. We just got to then win the 20% or so of Democrats, and it's the seats ours, and those 100,000 can't vote. What they forgot is they also can't make culture. So if the Democrats keep getting voter base based on people who are not producing culture, this could be why they want to change and control and institutionalize it. And that's why they want the DEI stuff. The end result is the things that make money that Americans like, movies like Groundhog Day, they can't compete. Their movies suck. Look, I got to be honest. I watched Beetlejuice the other day. It's just nowhere near as good as the original Beetlejuice. And I'm like, how did we have this? This ridiculously weird and interesting intellectual property from the 80s of the ghost with the most. And the story makes sense. And then you get this, I don't know, a hodgepodge random story for the new movie. They don't know how to maintain the culture that influences people to vote, to believe in things. And so I think they're losing. They're going to say some Democrats privately dismissed the Harris campaign's frustration as largely gamesmanship and an expectation setting around Tuesday's debate in Philadelphia. But others say the rule change and her limited experience in national general election debates and the interview since becoming her party's nominee could affect Harris's debate performance. She could get thrown off by the muted mics, So putting their frustration about the mics out there, they're preparing for that possibility. Or they've also got a set piece ready to go where Harris could turn to the camera and say, for those who can't hear it, Donald Trump is trying to yell over me. How many of you have been in a meeting where you get talked over? That's not going to work. She needed the I'm speaking. That was the play for female voters. They ain't going to get it. Let's be real, guys. Kamala Harris didn't win any primaries. She couldn't handle the primary debates. How is she going to go up against Donald Trump? Donald Trump, reality TV, real estate business mogul. This dude is TV. He's made for TV. He's a celebrity. Kamala Harris couldn't even win the debates she was in the primaries. Imagine this. Okay. You've got state finals in your, let's say, in Illinois state football finals, and you're going to go to national. But your team loses. They didn't beat a single other team. I want you to, I don't know how the high school or whatever football works, but let's just say this. There's a high school football team that lost right away and against all the other teams, just loses. Couldn't even score a single touchdown. And then gets chosen to represent the state alongside the actual winning team. All the other teams lose, one team wins. And then they decide, without any actual competition, that the winning team was just not capable. And so they're putting up this one team who never won a single game ever up against one of the previous champions. Like, can I put it like that? Like, I don't know. She didn't win a single debate. She couldn't get a single delegate. And now they're like, debate a former president. She's going like, oh, she ain't ready for this. She can't handle this. But, I got to be honest. We'll see. Nobody knows. Pelosi suggests Trump might skip presidential debate against Harris. I know cowardice when I see it. Why would Trump do this? The Harris campaign is in panic. Well, I got to tell you. Kamala Harris, just before the debate, has published a new way forward. The Kamala Harris campaign wants your donations of $25, $47. Get it? $100, $250, $1,000 other. They now have issues on their website. Took them long enough. All right. They say Vice President Harris and Governor Walz are fighting for a new way forward that protects our fundamental freedoms, strengthens our democracy, and ensures every person has the opportunity to not just get by, but to get ahead. As a prosecutor, attorney general, senator, and now vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris has always stood up for people against predators, scammers, and powerful interests. She promises to be a president for all Americans, a president who unites us around our highest aspirations, and a president who always fights for the American people. From the courthouse to the White House, that has been her life's work. All right. Let's do an honest breakdown of the policies she's proposing, and then I'm going to show you what her surrogates have said or are saying or what she has said, and we'll see what people believe. Cut taxes for middle-class families. They say under her plan, more than 100 million working and middle-class families will get a tax cut. They're going to say the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit, they're going to restore two tax cuts designed to help the middle class. These two programs, through these programs, millions of Americans get to keep more of their hard-earned income. They will also expand the child tax credit to provide $6,000 tax cut to families with newborn children. They believe no child in America should live in poverty, and these actions would have a historic impact. She then goes on to say, unlike Trump, no one earning less than $400,000 a year will pay more in taxes. Full stop. Let's assess this. First portion of this, 100% agree. Good policy, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Do I believe they'll get done? I don't know, but let's save that for the political arguing and just talk about the issue. Child tax credit, 100% good thing. In fact, my argument is if you have 3 children, you don't pay taxes ever again. I'm not even kidding. You're exempt from taxes. If you have 3, not 2, 3. I think Hungary does something like this. And I think it's a good idea. Now, there's a lot to consider with something like that and with the child tax credit. There are a lot of people who have kids for the wrong reasons. So if you never have to pay taxes again, someone might just be like, we got to have kids. And some guy might try to just have 3 kids. But there's got to be stipulations. It should be that if you are married with 3 kids, then you don't pay taxes. It can't just, so something like that. Now, as for the no one will pay more in taxes, this is a trick. Your tax level won't increase, but you will pay more because the IRS will come after you. That's a fact. 87,000 new IRS agents. They say under her plan, the tax rate on long-term capital gains for those earning $1 million a year or more will be 28%. Because when the government encourages investment, it leads to broad-based economic growth and creates jobs, which makes our economy stronger. Okay, long-term capital gains at 28% discourages investment. There's two things to consider. If you do corporate income tax at a high rate, but capital gains at a low rate, you're encouraging investment. So as someone who runs a business, which is a large business, revenue-wise, we do a lot. I'll tell you, when they say any money you have left over, we're taking a massive cut of. I'm like, well, then I might as well invest it in the business. If I got $100 and they're like, we're taking half of that, I'd say, okay. So if I invest $100 into my business for like new equipment or something, you take nothing. That's right. That's actually how it works. Okay. Well, let me then focus on investing in my business. Like, here's what I'd rather do. When they say they want to take $50 out of my 100, I say, can I just buy $100 in marketing to expand my business and help it grow instead of having the money sit around? Let's find effective means to invest in the business and I'll spend it elsewhere. They say, yeah, that's absolutely great. If you increase capital gains, then people are going to look for other types of investments with better returns, which means they're not going to invest in the market and in the machine. They'll find other ways to make money. High capital gains, I don't necessarily agree with, but I'll say this. Child tax credit, I'm on board with. Make rent more affordable. This is a bad idea. Terrible idea. First-time home buyers getting $25K. That we know from college loans, it doesn't make it cheaper. It makes it more expensive. Bad idea. I think the real play they're trying to make is make houses more expensive. That way, they're trying to pad the cost of a house. They're not going to be able to maintain this. You cannot give out $25K. There's been a bunch of financial guys on YouTube and Instagram who have been like, every home just got $25,000 more expensive. All that happens is they're going to go and they're going to say, the government's giving you the money and I want it. We know you're good for it. We know it's guaranteed. Insane. All right, grow small. How many are there? Okay, it's not that many. There's not that many. Actually, she does have quite a bit. This is good. Let's go through this. I'll try and go quick. Growing small business. What does that mean? As part of her opportunity economy, she will expand the startup expense tax deduction for new businesses from $5,000 to $50,000 and take on everyday obstacles and red tape that can make it harder to grow a small business. Agreed. Good policy. I agree with this one. Cut taxes on small businesses. Cut taxes. Let's talk about it. Taking on bad actors to bring down costs. They said she will take on big pharma to lower drug prices and cap insulin costs, not just for seniors, but for all Americans. And she'll keep fighting to bring down prescription drug costs by taking on pharmacy middlemen who raise consumer prices. Agreed. Donald Trump had a similar policy idea. I think it's a good one. Strengthen and bring down the cost of health care. She says the vice president called upon states to extend Medicaid postmortem coverage. Let's see. This basically just says she'll make affordable health care a right. Completely disagree. That makes no sense. She'll expand and strengthen the Affordable Care Act. Completely disagree. And make permanent the Biden-Harris tax credit enhancements that are lowering healthcare premiums by an average around $800 a year for millions of Americans. They're going to say she'll build on it's similar to capping insulin. She does mention capping insulin and a $2,000 cap on out-of-pocket spending for seniors to all Americans. I'm 50-50 on this one. I think it's platitudes that doesn't make sense. Healthcare is not a right. That makes no sense. But I agree with some caps. So I give her a D+, C-. Protecting, strengthen Social Security and Medicaid. I am 100% opposed to Social Security and Medicare and all of that. Were I running for office, I would outright just be like, nope, you're never going to see me defend it. And I'd never win an election. And I'm fine with that. The system can't sustain itself, not without massive population growth. It makes no sense. Elderly people should be relying on family, and we should be encouraging family to take care of their families. Instead, we built a mechanized machine state system that says, don't have kids, you'll be fine. 4 random people will pay your bills. It doesn't work. It's becoming insolvent. But of course, politically, if you want the votes, because seniors vote more than anybody, you better promise to protect their money. We have to make sure that we give to the elderly and sacrifice the young, right? That's what a system should do. You know, in Japan, when Fukushima happened, elderly people volunteered to go into the reactor to work on it, knowing that they had lived their lives already. Honor matters. And they said, we don't want to send young people. We've lived our lives. We've had our chance. It's insane to me that we built a system that says, take from the young to give to the elderly. It is insane to me. I believe in a system where the older generation sacrifices for the younger generation, not the other way around. This system maybe, is well-intentioned, but I don't see it working. Supporting American innovation and workers. They say they want the American Rescue Plan. I don't care about what you've claimed to have done. She'll fight to raise the minimum wage. Bad. And sub-minimum wages for tipped workers. Agree with that. And people with disabilities, establish paid family and medical leave, and eliminate taxes on tips. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I do agree with that. Eliminating taxes on tips. Whether it's Harris or Trump, she took it from Trump. But it is a real point. When I go to a restaurant and I order food and someone says, that'll be $50 and I pay it, I decide what to give that person. So how about this? Only up to 20% could be taxed. Here's a compromise, right? 20% is considered the good gratuity. 15 is standard, 10 is bad. So how about this? All tips up to 20% are taxed. Anything afterward, not taxed. Or we could say 15 because 15 is standard. And that means when someone wants a tip, here's the way I see it. If I'm already done eating, I can get up and leave. And all you can do is get mad. I didn't steal nothing. I don't owe you nothing. I paid what I owed. But it's become a culture to tip. So I always tip real big. I always tip 100% or more. Why? Because I can and decided to give this person extra money for no reason that's even beyond the scope of what a tip should be. Why are they giving it to the government? That pisses me off. I ain't tipping you, government. Here's a 20% tip. What am I supposed to do? Here's 20% for the tip. Also, I just think you're a good guy. Here's a $100 tax-free gift. It's ridiculous. It should be tax-free. All right. Provide a pathway to the middle class through quality, affordable education. No way. No way. No. Giving money to colleges. No way. Affordable childcare and long-term care. What's this? She will fight to lower care costs for American families, and including by expanding high-quality home care services for seniors and people with disabilities. Look, this is one of those things where it's like, sure, I agree, but what's that going to do? Like, what are you going to do to make it happen? I don't believe it. Low energy costs tackle the climate crisis. Not interested. You're liars. You wouldn't own beachfront property, Obama's waterfront property, if you actually thought this was a big crisis. OK, you'd be investing in, I don't know, underground bunkers and high elevation areas and sustainable farms. That being said, Mark Zuckerberg and a bunch of other billionaires are doing that. So, and then they bring on Trump's Project 2025 agenda. This is just absolutely disgraceful. It is false and defamatory. Trump has nothing to do with this. And how do they keep saying it's Trump's and getting away with it? These are overt false statements of fact that they know it's malicious. Shouldn't Trump sue over this or something? All right. They want abortion. Okay, there you go. They want to expand abortion, restore reproductive freedoms. She'll sign it. Disagree. Protect civil rights and freedoms. What do they want to do? Voting Rights and Freedoms Acts that will enshrine voting rights protections. Expand mail by vote by mail. No way. Bad. Make our community safer from gun violence. Not interested. Okay. I don't think you can do anything. She'll ban assault weapons and high capacity magazines. What does that mean? 100 or more? Bad. Red flag laws. Bad. Secure our borders. Lady, if you want to, why didn't you do it now? In fact, I'll tell you what, do it now. That's a lie. Tackle the opioid and fentanyl crisis. Yeah, right. She'd secure the border if that was the case. Ensure no one is above the law. Were that the case, Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, they'd be in jail, but so would Merrick Garland for contempt of Congress. But there are people who are above the law, and we know it. Joe Biden and the documents, they said they're not going to prosecute, even though he had classified documents. Would they go after Trump? If you really mean it, you do it. I don't believe it. Supreme Court reforms. Look at this. You see, it's not even about that. It's about expanding power. Stand with our allies, stand up to dictators, and lead on the world stage. What does this mean? She's not going to be an effective commander-in-chief, and we all know it, okay? They say she visited the Korean demilitarized zone to affirm our unwavering commitment to South Korea in the face of North Korean threats. I'm a big fan of South Korea, I got to admit, but I like Trump's trying to bring about peace. 5 days before Russia attacked Ukraine, she met with Zelensky to warn about Russia's plan to invade and help to mobilize a global response of more than 50 countries to help Ukraine defend itself against Vladimir Putin's brutal aggression. And she has worked with our allies to ensure NATO is stronger than ever. I don't know the purpose of NATO at this point. I assume it's just a liberal economic order. I used to be a big fan of Ukraine. I had been there several times. I have friends who are from there. At this point, we are being dragged into and entrenched in a war that is none of our business. It's only the business of international elites and not the American people. They want to, to break this whole thing down. And I'll always start by saying Putin lost. That's why he invaded. The West was expanding using soft power. The deal was simple. Ukraine had a choice. They could join up with the West in the Schengen zone and NATO and the EU, or they could join the Russian Trade Federation. Russia could not offer them a good deal. Ukraine overwhelmingly, and not entirely, but overwhelmingly said, Western Europe is a great deal for us. You take a look at Poland when they get in the EU, and a lot of the Polish people move to the UK for better jobs and better wages. People in Greece, the same thing. Ukraine wanted to join the EU. Russia said, we're losing this. We can't risk losing Sevastopol, this massive industrial center, and where our naval base is. So they decided to use guns, bombs, and invasion. They lost. They resorted to violence and desperation. And for that, they're wrong. But Ukraine is not in NATO. Ukraine is not one of our greatest allies. Ukraine is not an EU nation, not even close, maybe close now. And we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars for their defense without a casus belli. What is the purpose for Western involvement in this? It's simply because European interest is for cheaper energy, and that's why this conflict is ongoing. It's the precursor to a major full-scale war that I don't think we can survive or want to be involved in. That being said, it's not like Vladimir Putin is I don't appreciate the people on the right who think Putin is some good guy. I said it before, I'll say it again, and regardless of what the news story is now, which I'll set aside for the time being, I have never been a fan of the guy who's held onto power for 20 years. He is not a good guy. He doesn't have your interests, and people should stop pretending like it's the case. However, Donald Trump would bring about peace, in my opinion, or is more likely to. Though I do feel we're kind of at that point where I don't know, after the invasion of the Kursk region by Ukraine, that even Trump could negotiate a wind down to this. No, don't get me wrong. I think he still could. But a year and a half ago, I was thinking, this is like a year and a half ago, I thought Donald Trump gets in, war's over. That does mean Ukraine has to cede territory to Russia. But think about this. Russia takes the Donbass region into Sevastopol, securing their warm water port and massive industrial center. The rest of Ukraine joins EU or NATO or whatever. That could theoretically stabilize everything. Yet the West is hell-bent on taking Crimea, shutting down Russia's naval base, controlling the Black Sea, and this is why you get war and conflict. Now that they've invaded Russia, it may be that if Trump were to negotiate any kind of breakdown in the conflict or stopping of it, it could revert the borders back to their original states. Who knows? I just think Trump will have a lot harder time doing it. Invest in America's sources of strength, they say. She'll make sure America, not China, wins the competition for the 21st century, and that we strengthen, abdicate our global leadership. Sure, explain to me then why the Bidens were flying to China for private equity deals. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. Support service members, veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors. Whatever. That one's vague platitudes. Here's the important point. As we go through all of Kamala Harris's now stated positions, there are some good ones. It's never so absolute. It's not like she's from Mars and she wants to, blow up all the volcanoes on the planet or something. No, I mean, there's some very obvious things that I think we're happy with. Child tax credit. Good thing. Very, very good thing. I think we should do more. If you have kids, you pay less taxes. You have 2 kids, pay even less taxes. I like that. That's good. I'll give her that one. I try to give where I can, and I'll disagree where I can disagree. But let's take a look at what she's all about. Because we ain't done. Take a look at this. Dick Cheney. Oh, I got to play this clip for you. Here you go.
Democrats have called Dick Cheney a war criminal for 20 years. And now all of a sudden, they're clapping like seals to get his endorsement. This does not strike me as people who are interested in listening to your conservative viewpoints. They are hungry for power. They will take Dick Cheney's endorsement today.
Democrats screamed he was a war criminal. They were demanding he go to prison. I remember like 12 years ago, there were these memes about how if George W. Bush and Dick Cheney went to a foreign country, they'd be immediately arrested for war crimes. That's the meme that Democrats were sharing. Now they're like, wow, we've got Dick Cheney on our side. And it's like, what do you think that means? I do not think it means what you think it means. This is wild. Take a look at this clip. Should Kamala, let me just play it for you.
Listen, we're not going to be able to get where we need to go without action in Congress. We've got to pass some laws to deal with this. Now, I was heartened by the fact that 2 years ago, we finally did a gun safety law, the Safer Communities Act. And it was the first gun safety law we passed in 30 years. 30 years. And it was modest, but it did save lives. But clearly, in the wake of what happened just the other day in Winder, Georgia, it's not enough. And the least we can do is move forward on the bipartisan spaces where ordinary people agree. Clearly, there's a disconnect between what the people, the American people, want and what they're able to get out of their government. Again, 87% of Americans believe in background checks. And yet I hear politicians say that it's not guns who kill people, it's people who kill people. And yet we don't even want to know who those people are. We won't even support.
Senator, just yes or no, though. Should she support the mandatory buyback program? Just a yes or no.
Listen, look, as a pastor, I've done buyback programs. You can pick this issue or that issue. But I think that, again, there's not one single thing that will make all of this go away.
Well, he didn't say yes, literally, but he is basically saying yes in a way that he can. Now, we know that she's all about that. It's going to be wildly unpopular for her to propose that to the American people. She wants to ban assault weapons, which is a meaningless phrase. Here you go. Enjoy this one.
A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
The clapping.
Okay. Let me start with you, Mayor Buttigieg. Why?
Kamala Harris right there with her hand raised. Your money will be going to non-citizens for their health care. Explain to me how that one makes sense. So this one should be interesting. She finally has her policy plans. She's late to the game. The debate is tomorrow night. We got a special show just for you guys tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun with a lot of different guests. And so I'll wrap this one up there. Smash the like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com. Click join us to become a member and support our work directly. And we got another segment coming up for you at 4 p.m. Animal sacrifices on the rise in Queens, with chickens, pigs being tortured in twisted rituals. What? All right. Stick around. I'm going to read your super chats, but for everybody else, we'll see you all at 4 p.m. All right. We'll grab your super chats before we jump into the weird and wild world that is animal sacrifices in Queens and stuff. There's a picture, too. Let me show you. This guy with a goose. What's he doing? And what are they called? Canada geese? Canada goose. Because I think, it's called a Canada goose. Everybody calls them Canadian geese. Sometimes called Canadian goose, but they're called Canada goose. Okay? It's important. And they honk. They're very funny. We like them. They walk around, mind their own business. You leave them alone. And they're federally protected. It's also important. Let's go. We'll grab some more super chats from you guys. All right. For those that are wondering, Key Point Productions says, with Tenet Media gone, where can I watch Friday's Culture War podcast? It's back in its original home. Ladies and gentlemen, the Culture War is at youtube.com/Timcast. Friday mornings, 10 a.m. to noon. The show is the same. It has always been. Always very easily and simply produced by me and our booking agent. It's a real simple show, to be honest. We talked about how it'd be good to do an episode on simulation theory and Christianity. And so our booker then finds two people. We bring them down. No real production. We just sit down and we talk about these ideas. And last week we talked about City of Dreams. City of Dreams. Viewership is skyrocketing, by the way. Our viewership back on its home channel 3 times higher than it was previously under the license agreement, which the show is doing much better. All right. Let's go. The Voice of the People says the doc I mentioned isn't about race, it's economic. Look into it. Are you talking about... I must have missed your other super chat. Epic Gamer says, Tim, you should see if it's possible to get Lichtman on a Culture War episode. I think it would be interesting to put him under scrutiny to figure out why he seems to be ignoring obvious facts. An excellent point. A point in which it is so excellent, I'm actually going to see if we can pull that one off. Sooner rather than later. I am texting now. That'd be huge, actually. That'd be a great show. All right. Jay Forsyth says they're not replacing white people. They're replacing the middle class with serfs by devaluing labor through excessive supply. Yeah, they're creating a second-class labor force. So these are people who are not going to be citizens. And the way it works is, man, they're creating a serf class. They really are. You're going to have a congressional district with a rep. That rep is going to have 500,000 citizens who can vote and 200,000 laborers who can't. They're going to say, you're allowed to be here. You can work, you pay taxes, but you don't get a vote. It's kind of interesting. It's weird because it's an inversion of what it's on the same wavelength, but at the opposite end of the spectrum to what we advocate for. I, as well as many other people, think voting should have some restrictions and should be not super easy for anyone to just do. So they're building a system by which they're going to bring in all these illegal immigrants, give them some type of status where they're allowed to live and work here, but they can't vote. So they're basically creating large non-voting populations, and then you will have the voting class of Americans. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of funny, isn't it? All right. Bruce says, go listen to Tucker's interview with Mike Benz. They'll never allow Donald Trump to be president. They have too much at stake. Yeah, but can they stop him? A lot of people think they can. I suppose we'll see. All right. M. Sheba says, Tim here talking about how people act like Colin Kaepernick was ever a notable football player after the kneeling thing. I never talked. When did I talk about Colin Kaepernick in this? What? Was ever a notable football player? He got a big ad campaign with Nike, those millions of dollars, but there you go. Let's go. Garrett Rass says, hey, Tim, are you going to be covering Brett Weinstein's Rescue the Republic event? A lot of big names will be there to endorse the Unity Party. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a look into it. All right. Stoke the Fire says, regarding your tax-free parenthood, what would you say to those unfortunate people who can't find a partner to have children with? Too bad. What would be the situation for them? You can't have, then you don't get a tax cut. I don't know. Like the tax cut is because you had kids. That's it. Too bad. That's it. People who can't find a partner to have children with. Too bad. Literally, that's it. People who have kids get a tax break. The reason they get the tax break is so it's easier for them to raise kids. They have the kids. I don't see why we give everyone, look, you don't make the argument. No taxes. Then I'm listening. All right. Dragon Lady says, excuse me, why should those of us who don't get tips pay full taxes and those who get tips pay less? Because tips are not required. If I choose to give someone money for nothing, that's called a gift. And what they've done is they've created this system where I go to a restaurant to buy food and it's an expectation to tip, but not a requirement. If you eat food and tip zero and walk out, they say, oh, how could you? How dare you? You're not a thief. You're not stealing. It's not criminal. It's just mean and uncouth. If that's the game you want to play, you've got two options. Require that you do not get special privileges in hiring wait staff, meaning you got to pay them the same minimum wage as everybody else. I'm not a fan of raising the minimum wage, so I don't know how that'll work. Or they can take tax-free tips. I don't. There you go. Maybe both. All right. What is this? One iRanger says 2% 30-year fixed rate home loan for the first $600K on the primary residence of a married couple with children in the home. Rate reverts to prime if couples divorce or children don't graduate high school. I like the idea, but I don't think high school is a good thing. So I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know if that. I don't know. David Wilkins says Canada geese are hunted and are in season now in South Carolina, and they taste good. Hey, there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump to this next story. From the New York Post, animal sacrifices on the rise in Queens. Chickens, pigs being tortured in twisted rituals. The story, my friends, has been going around over the past weekend that migrants are hunting and eating animals in run-of-the-mill neighborhoods. And here's a viral video of what appears to be a black man with a goose. Now, I got to tell you, you don't know who this guy is. You don't know where he's from. I don't know that we know he's a migrant. Maybe someone does or whatever. He's got a Canada goose. An entire goose. I I don't know. Look, Americans eat geese. You know, someone super chatted just a moment ago that it's Canada goose season. They're allowed to hunt them. They are migratory birds are federally protected. So, you know, always check your applicable laws. But this is crazy. And people are blaming migrants for these strange rituals. The New York Post says animal sacrifices are surging in Queens, with chickens, pigs, and rats being tortured, mutilated, or killed in twisted religious rituals in parkland surrounding Jamaica Bay, the Post has learned. In a little over a month, at least 9 wounded animals or carcasses have been discovered in the federally managed Spring Creek Park in Howard Beach and the Jamaica Bay Wildlife Refuge in Broad Channel, including 5 live pigs with partially severed ears. Creatures recovered from the revolting scene also include a near-dead baby rat tied up in a bag with chicken bones, freshly decapitated chicken head, a live hen in distress, and a dead dog with his neck snapped. Jeez, man. What the heck? It's continually getting worse. The animal sacrifices are happening more repeatedly, more times a week. Sloan Quealy, co-founder and president of Zion's Mission Animal Rescue, told the Post, the sacrificers know it's open season. One of the distressed pigs was found emaciated in a food-filled crate in July, with a deep gash running down its face and its body covered in oils and spices. Were they trying to cook it? Said Kristen Latuga, who has taken in all five of the ailing swine at a Long Island animal sanctuary, Brucey's Angels. These poor pigs, what are they doing to them? If they're not eating them, what are you doing? Several rescuers and local religious leaders suggested the torture was linked to a sect of Hindu devotees who worship the goddess Kali and have practiced animal sacrifice in the surrounding area, in the area surrounding Jamaica Bay for decades. It's a misconstruing of what the scriptures about conquering animalistic values. They've twisted it and they've sacrificed an actual animal rather than sacrificing the animalistic qualities of man. Okay. Well, this story is certainly going viral because you've got these other stories of like people are claiming Haitian migrants. Look at this one. This is from 2022. Migrants killing dogs, stealing from homes prompt some Texas border town residents to arm themselves. And here's the Daily Dot. Why do right-wing influencers think Haitian migrants in Ohio are eating people's pets? The false claim comes amid growing debate over immigration in Ohio. I love how they just say the false claims. Well, I certainly don't trust a lot of these videos. You know, I don't know what to tell you. Like, they've reported on weird animal sacrifices. 2 years ago, they already reported on dogs being killed and pets being stolen. So when someone says it's happening in Ohio, it's within the realm of possibility. Here we go. Prominent conservatives are blaming recent immigration from Haiti after a woman in Ohio was arrested for allegedly eating a cat. The only problem, the woman has lived in America for the past 6 years. What? No one said she didn't live here for some time. They're complaining that she's a migrant here who now eats a cat. The allegations arose over the weekend after right-wing users on social media discovered a 27-year-old woman was charged last month with injuring animals, prohibitions concerning companion animals, and disorderly conduct. The woman, Canton resident Alexis Telia Farrell, reportedly stomped on the cat's head to kill it before eating it in a residential area in front of multiple people. Wow. Okay. When one user asked whether drugs were to blame, Ian Miles Chong said, worse, Haitians. Huh? The talking point rapidly spread across X, leading many to suggest the woman's actions were linked to her alleged Haitian heritage. Is she actually? Is this lady Haitian or from Haiti? They do this crap down there. I'm hearing stories about cats and dogs being eaten thanks to illegals. You know what, man? I'm not a fan of this stuff. I wouldn't come outright and just be like, it's a false story, says I. But I would come out and be like, dude, I get sent videos all the time. And if I can't find the source, I just don't talk about it. Or if there's not widespread commentary. So in this instance, there's a challenge as to whether or not this is a widespread thing, right? But I do have a lot to say that I think is funny. And so people are claiming that migrants are... There's another video of a seagull, and there's some guy who's got it by the neck, and a woman takes it from him and, like, goes to rescue it. I don't know that I actually care about any of it. I mean, seagulls are they're just birds. I don't know. Like, you eat fish. I guess it's just not normal for us that people would do this. I will warn, it was I think the passenger pigeon. People in like New York used to go out with nets and just catch a bunch of them and then eat them. And now they're extinct. They want to try and revive it using, because it's 100 years ago. They want to revive it using the DNA from like bones they found and then combining it with rock pigeons to recreate the passenger pigeon. So maybe don't, there's a reason why we don't do this. Jack Posobiec says, there are no laws in Haiti about eating cats. Again, that being said, this post. Trump running from Haitians while holding 2 cats. I don't know, man. I got to be honest. This one I think is getting a little too silly. Like, you get one story about a cat, and everyone runs wild. And I'm like, by all means, if it's true, but you got to give me a little bit more than this. In the wake of the 2 stories, other conservative influencers shared unverified screenshots from alleged social media channels in Springfield claiming residents knew about and had seen other animals being eaten. But despite the claims, no evidence suggests the woman in question is an illegal immigrant from Haiti. That's what I'm like. I haven't found anything suggesting that. So I just say I don't know. Not a single media report on the incident alleges the woman is Haitian. And a simple search reveals that Farrell has been a registered voter in Ohio for the past 6 years. So she's a citizen. She could just be a woman who went crazy. That kind of stuff happens. Now, that being said, with the narrative that is emerging, we have Savannah Hernandez saying, still can't get over this Haitian dude walking around with an entire goose like it's a freshly prepared bag of Chick-fil-A. We are so cooked. But hold on. Why? All right, look, I said to an extent, though, it's kind of funny. This dude eating a bird is more normal than us going to grocery stores for plastic packed, hormone grown, overweight disease meat. Is this just like reactionary? Oh, this is not a normal thing to us, so we don't like it. The question I have here is, are you allowed to hunt Canada goose? Someone super chatted saying you are allowed to. Are you allowed to hunt Canada goose? Let's pull that one up. Yes, you can hunt Canada geese under certain conditions, but they're protected by federal law for most of the year. Can I just pull this one up? I'm sorry, man. I can't play this game with y'all. Here's a guy carrying a goose. The only questions I have is, did he legally hunt the Canada goose? That's it. Because if he killed it out of season and they're federally protected, well, then he's committed a crime, right? Hunting season. You can hunt Canada geese during the hunting season and within specified parameters. Okay. I don't know what state that guy's in, but I'll just click the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources. They say changes were made. What is this? Canada geese. Allow destruction of geese nests and eggs during closed season. Wow, interesting. Depredation orders have been deployed to allow destruction of geese nests. Here's the thing. Do we know for sure this guy's Haitian? What if this guy's American? Like, what if this is just some like American dude in South Carolina who just got back from a hunt? I mean, maybe not. I don't know why he has that attaché case and he's wearing khakis and sneakers. But at the same time, it's like, what's the real concern? Honestly, like, if he was wearing a red flannel and he had like a Ruger 1022 or something, nobody would bat an eye. They'd be like, oh, goose hunting. Okay. But there's a guy who's black and they're like, is he a Haitian migrant who's eating a goose? And I'm like, I don't care. We have foie gras. Have you guys ever had foie gras? You go to the restaurant, they take geese, they jam a tube into its throat or ducks, and they pump it full of corn and oil. It's disgusting. They disease the bird so its liver becomes inflamed and fatty, and then they harvest it and spread it on bread or whatever. Let me tell you what's not normal. You go to the grocery store and you've got yellow styrofoam chicken wrapped in plastic. The chicken is 4 times bigger than an actual chicken bird is. It's this weird, like, it's pumped full of hormones. It's nasty. The horrible conditions of chicken. I'll tell you what's even worse. You want to know why I feel we're so cooked? Let me lay it out from the beginning again. You're allowed to hunt geese. It is not. This photo doesn't mean anything to me. I think it's funny. Like, people are like, look, he's got a goose. He doesn't seem to be a hunter, so I get it. But you're allowed to hunt geese under certain conditions. And it's funny to me that people are going to go to McDonald's and get, who knows what this thing is, the pink slime chicken nugget, and be like, this is what people should be eating. Yo, let me tell you. So at our Maryland property, we've got fruit everywhere. It's amazing. And at the new Freedomistan property, there's no fruit anywhere, and it sucks. But it's really amazing. At we called it the Castle. You got grapes everywhere, probably millions of little grapes. They don't taste too good, but food's food, and they're not as bad. It's got like a weird grassy kind of flavor to them, and they're little, small with seeds in them. They're called frost grapes. They say you're supposed to freeze them and they taste better, but whatever. We've got pawpaw for days. Pawpaw, it's like an avocado, banana, mango combined. I'm not a big fan of how they taste, but they're not bad. Like if you needed food, it must have been wild out here for the settlers to be like, woo, pawpaw season, let's go. It's good food. We got wine berries. It's an invasive fruit. Okay, so let me tell you. We also have chickens. We have eggs. When I would bring people to the show and I'd bring them outside and be like, check it out, we got blackberries. And I'd grab a blackberry off a bush and just pop it in my mouth. People would be like, whoa, can you do that? Can you just eat these? And I'm like, what? Let me grab a handful of wine berries. They're delicious. Eat them up. And like grab a pawpaw right off the tree or off the ground. No, doesn't look gross. Rip it open. You've never grabbed an apple off a tree and just eaten it? And people, not everyone, but a lot of people would be like, can you do that? There's a viral video where a woman was like, my friend came over to my house and she opened my fridge and she saw lemons in the fridge. And she goes, why do you have lemons in your fridge? And she was like, because I use them for cooking. And she goes, no, but like, why did you buy lemons from the store and put them in your fridge? And she was like I said, because I go cooking. And she goes, no, you have a lemon tree outside. There's lemons everywhere. And she was like, yeah, but you can't just like grab them and eat them, can you? And she's like, yes, you can. Okay, so this is what's wild to me. First, if there are people who are coming to this country and they're breaking the laws and they're killing animals illegally, that I get. If they're not assimilating into our culture properly, totally get that. What we want is for when migrants come here to be legally tracked so that we can make sure they're into areas where the economy can be stabilized and they're following our laws. That being said, this image alone doesn't mean much to me. If someone steals someone's cat and kills it, I got a problem with that. Okay. Fox reporting this 2 years ago. This is literally 2 years ago. Migrants killing dogs, stealing from homes. Yes, very, very bad. Don't kill people's pets. Okay. Don't sacrifice animals. This is very weird. But the point is, you've got people sharing photos like this, 1 million views. And I'm like, guys, understand. It should not be normal that we eat plastic garbage food, okay? That you go to the grocery store and you're eating dinosaur-shaped chicken waste. We don't want to be eating, look, so I was at a store and they had these great sauces, canola oil. I'm like, I'm not going to eat that. I'm doing fresh olive oil from now on. Seed oils, none of that, okay? I'm not here to entertain people breaking the law, not in the least bit. If this is a guy who broke the law, then arrest him. But it's like, it's just a guy with a goose. You know what I mean? I do have this video for you, okay? Springfield, Ohio resident sounds alarmed. Haitians are in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck, cutting off their head and eating them. I just want to pause again. If it's illegal, it's a problem, but duck hunting is a normal thing, okay?
I think it's like kind of odd that like a guy like me has to come out from doing what I do on a daily basis to have fun because I see what's going on in these streets and I see you guys just sitting up there in them comfy chairs and suits and I'm getting out here every day and I'm broadcasting this and you guys are just sitting up there in suits or something. Like I really challenge you guys to get out here and do something. These Haitians are running into trash cans. They're running into buildings. They're running into... They flipping cars in the middle of the street. And I don't know how, like, y'all can be comfortable with this. Like, I don't know, like, who's getting paid from it. I honestly feel like someone's getting paid from it in the background. You got a bunch of people on a bus getting dropped off at a gas station to come down here. I know a single mom that FaceTimed me this morning at the welfare office that really need something. And it's nothing but immigrants over there. And I don't even want to seem like I'm coming down on the immigrants because it's the people that's bringing them down here. Because wherever they're at, that's what they're used to, bro. They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them and eating them. Like, y'all get the Highway State Patrol down here every week and then y'all get like a task force for the Highway State Patrol and they look for guns and they look for dope and this and that and the fourth.
So I want to stress this, okay, my friends. Let's divide this into two different categories. The first, we should not be normalizing the garbage food we eat. We should not be eating the seed. I'm not a doctor. Talk to a doctor, but I try to avoid seed oils to the best of my abilities. I don't eat fast food. I did have some Taco Bell a few months ago, but we're done with Taco Bell. I try to eat better. Olive oil, avocados. I'm trying to reduce animal fats. So my point is, I'm not going to look at a guy with a goose and be like, he's got a goose. I'm going to be like, we hunt geese all the time. Let's actually separate these two things. What this guy's talking about is they're not assimilating properly. They are getting welfare checks. They are not abiding by our laws. They do not understand our culture, and it's creating serious cultural clashes where people are disturbed and do not like the local ducks in the park being killed, not to mention migratory birds are protected. This I agree with. When the guy says, bring the highway patrol down here and deal with this, I agree with it. That being said, let's go back to the Daily Dot when they say, why do right-wing influencers think Haitian immigrants in Ohio are eating people's pets? Well, I don't know about pets. Okay, that's a fair point. I don't know about that. I do know, here's a video of a guy complaining about how these Haitian migrants are coming up, grabbing ducks, breaking their necks and eating them. And we don't like that stuff in our community. And they should be assimilating it to our culture, I suppose, is the main point. But I agree. And I can respect that. The problem, as I've long said, with mass illegal immigration is that, I put it this way, fighting to sneeze here, give me a second. Donald Trump said something similar, and I agree with him. He said, we want everybody to come to the United States, but you got to come legally. I've long said this. Every single person in the world, every single one is welcome here. Yep, that's right. Open the doors and then place 2 guards at the doors to check your paperwork, your proper filings, and to tell you when we're full and we're not. What I mean to say is, this was Donald Trump's point. We like immigration. Immigration's a good thing. Some people don't like it. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people who are like, no, there's too much. We need a moratorium. Donald Trump says, we want immigration, but it's got to be done legally. Legally. And I agree. If you have legal immigration, you have the best of the best coming to this country. I love it. Imagine this. I love using the Nigerian migrant example. The successful individuals in Nigeria make money, file to come to the United States, get to come here. They should get to come here because they're smart, successful, and they make a lot of money. That means they're going to be economic benefits. They're going to abide by our laws. They appreciate our system, and we need more of that. The mass illegal immigration is disruptive to our laws, to our culture, and to our function of government and society. We can't have that. So I say, everybody in the world, apply. And then walk to the door and knock, and we'll tell you if you can come in. And it means usually the answer is no. Because there's a finite amount of space where we can adequately accommodate economic growth in this way. I can break it down for you. Real simple. The U.S. economy can't handle this. We're not having enough kids. And so what's happened is, in the past 20 or so years, because we saw this coming, in the 2000s, fertility rates were below replacement. They've started saying, we just need to bring in more and more people from other countries to fill in the gap, to make sure the jobs numbers grow and our economy can continue so the fractional reserve petrodollar system can be maintained. But it is a balloon that will pop. Don't work. This is what you're seeing now. It's the chaos. I don't know why they think they can save it. I'm like the deep state, the neocons. I don't know why they think they can save it. They can't. This is not going to work. Donald Trump, on the surface at the very least, has the simple plan. Secure our borders, bring back our jobs, reinvigorate the American people. We need to bring this country back to a strong position. Otherwise, opening the doors and saying, bring everybody in because we're desperate for the numbers, just means destabilization and collapse. So, there you go, my friends. Oh, man. Ugh. I got allergy season in the fall and the spring. It gets me hard. But I'm going to wrap it up there. Smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share this show with your friends. And become a member at Timcast.com to support our work. We got one more segment coming up for you in just a minute. Got to give a shout out to Matt Walsh for tricking Robin DiAngelo into paying his producer reparations. This is awesome. The story's from yesterday, but it went viral and I want to talk about it. So smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all in the next segment at 6 p.m. Holy crap, am I going to sneeze? And then we'll read your super chats. Oi. Brutal. All right. Super chat time. Let's go. What have we here? The text vet says, this is very disingenuous, focusing on the goose instead of the dogs, cats, and other people's pets, who the Haitians are eating. The gaslighting is MSM level, Tim. Because I didn't pull up that specific story, I literally pulled up a story about they're sacrificing animals in New York. What do you want from me? And then it's like people just want me to agree with whatever viral clip without evidence. It's not going to happen. It's never happened. It won't happen again. Let me tell you, my friends, when the Covington kids stepped on that on those steps and the Native American man walked up to this kid, Nick Salmon, and banged the drum in his face, I had people demanding. No, I'm not kidding. People were DMing me being like, how come you're not calling out this kid, Tim? And I was like, calling out for what? And like, look what he's doing. And I'm like, what is he doing? And they're like, here's a video of a kid in his face while he's banging the drum. Look at his smirk and all that. And I was like, I don't even know what this is. It's two people standing in front of each other. And I was right. The Native American went to the kid, not the other way around. And I had people messaging me being like, you need to call this out. Insane. I don't know why people fall for that stuff. Dude, there are stories, okay? There are videos. There's a viral video of a woman stomping on a cat or whatever, and we don't know who this woman is. I'm not just going to come out and be like, look at Haitian migrants. Here's a guy with a goose. As I point out, it's two distinctions. There's two different things. There's are they assimilating properly? And that's the concern, breaking our laws, violating our social norms and all that, I get. And then there's also let's stop normalizing dinosaur nuggets. Let's stop normalizing pink slime at McDonald's. We should be eating real food. People should learn how to eat real food, man. That being said, Walter Nam says, being okay with third world people doing third world stuff is a slippery slope. If ducks are okay, why not pets? Migrants won't assimilate or obeys laws. And that last part is the point I agree with. Certainly, we don't want people taking pets, if that's the claim. And I brought up a story showing that. That's illegal. It's a crime to take someone's animal. In fact, look, if I have a chicken that is being bred for me to eat and you steal it, you've stolen my chicken, okay? People shouldn't commit crimes. All right. Here we go. Riley Gerald says, I would eat goose over any other meat any day. 10 out of 10. And sounds like the Haitians have more fun hunting than sitting in a blind. Do you think that guy who was holding the goose ran up to it and whacked the goose with a stick? The funny thing is, geese are so, Canada geese, especially the Canada goose, are so used to our presence and calm around us that they just honk at you. But if you go to MacArthur Park in LA, they come up to you demanding food. I'm just wondering if this Haitian guy just took a stick and went whack and then just picked it up and was like, dinner. See, we don't like that because it's atypical. It's not socially acceptable to do, right? In fact, probably illegal. So yeah, that guy's right. All right, Mr. Fish Pirate says, I'm so sick and tired of people tossing around the phrase pink slime. Research what it is, Tim. It's not slime. It's just beef product used as a binding agent. The fake news killed BPI. Do better, Tim. I'm using that as a colloquial reference to how they take meat byproducts and put them into graters that turn it into a paste. Okay, you get a hot dog. You're better off eating a steak. But we have over-processed all of our food. I don't care if it's a binding agent, whatever it is. Call it, okay, let's do this. Beef product binding agent. Let's stop normalizing beef product binding agent and just have a fresh cut of steak from the animal. I'm saying, man, get back to eating real food. I love the meme, though, where they're like, processed food was literally designed for you to eat. Organic food is literally just picking stuff up off the ground. It's funny because you don't want to eat processed garbage. Eli Betakovich says Iran is having a Christian revolution right now. Makes you wonder why they want war with Iran, huh? P.S. I tried typing this earlier and it blocked me. Now that's YouTube for you. YouTube. Let's jump to this last segment. This one's fun and funny. We have the story from the New York Post. Matt Walsh, in his new film, Am I Racist? This one, I think, may be better than What is a Woman? He hits this one out of the park. He tricked race, academic, whatever you want to call it, critical race theorist or whatever, Robin DiAngelo into paying his black producer reparations. Apparently, she pulls money out and gives it to him. Oh, man. But you know what's really funny about this is I don't think she'll face any criticism on the left for this. She's going to be praised for having done it. From the New York Post. White fragility author Robin DiAngelo was hoodwinked into dipping into her own pocketbook to pay reparations to a black producer in it's so racist in Matt Walsh's upcoming documentary, Am I Racist? An undercover man bun wearing Walsh, 38. What? Matt Walsh is 38? Really? Is he really? He's 38. What? Matt Walsh is younger than me? What? That's the biggest shock I've heard. Not the story. It's that Matt Walsh is 3 months younger than me. Woof. I'm sorry. It's the Korean in me. I just can't grow the beard. So anyway, Matt Walsh goaded DiAngelo into ponying up the cash to his producer, Ben, to compensate for the sins of the past by first coughing up the money himself. Walsh, who had been conducting an interview with DiAngelo for a documentary project while feigning anti-racist sentiments and posing as an activist, summoned Ben after finishing up most of his questions. This is Ben, a producer on the film. I thought it would be a powerful opportunity to speak directly to a person of color and confront our racism and also apologize for the white supremacist system that oppresses Ben, Walsh began. Look at his pants. He's in disguise. DiAngelo, 68, followed suit saying, on behalf of myself and my fellow white people, I apologize. It's not you, it is us. As long as I am standing, I will do my best to challenge it. Walsh then announced that he'd pay Ben reparations if he'd accept it. Prompting his producer to quip, I mean, I won't turn it down. Walsh then handed Ben a few bills from his wallet. That doesn't make up for 400 years of oppression, but it's all that I have to give, Walsh said. Taking hold of the new cash, patting his wallet, Ben, fully on the ruse, explained that he doesn't know if it's ever enough, but praised Walsh for putting in the work and acknowledged the small progress I think we made today. DiAngelo looked introspective and bewildered as it unfolded. That was really weird, a perplexed and nearly speechless DiAngelo gasped before formulating a response after Walsh asked, did you want to pay any? I think reparations is like a systemic, dynamic approach yet. I mean, I think there may be some people who would be offended by that. Ben explained that he wouldn't turn down cash. A solemn-looking Walsh then stressed the need to allow ourselves to be uncomfortable. Wow, man, bravo. This is something that I can do right now. And asked, why wouldn't I? I can go get some cash for sure. She relented after struggling to beat back Walsh and Ben's logic. I don't mind if that would be something that would be comfortable for you. After getting Ben's blessing, DiAngelo then walked over to her pocketbook, pulled out roughly $30 and told him that's all the cash that I have. Holy crap. Thanks, a smiling Ben replied. When DiAngelo sat down with Walsh earlier in the documentary, she asked for quick information about who he was, noting that she has to be careful. DiAngelo's book, White Fragility, Why Is It So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism, hit bookshelves back in 2018 and helped her gain fame as a so-called anti-bias training expert. The New York Times best-selling tome features some controversial assessments of racism. She claimed that white people raised in Western society are conditioned into a white supremacist worldview because it is the bedrock of our society and its institutions. At another point, she wrote in the book, people of color may also hold prejudices and discriminate against white people, but they lack the social and institutional power that transform their prejudice and discrimination into racism. The impact of their prejudice on whites is temporary and contextual. Ironically, back in 2021, DiAngelo scored $12,750, a speaking fee at the University of Wisconsin's Diversity Forum, considerably more than the $7,500 paid to its black female keynote speaker, Austin Channing Brown. Ain't that funny? More recently, DiAngelo has faced accusations of plagiarizing passages from minority scholars in her doctoral thesis, according to a complaint obtained by the Washington Free Beacon. We'll grab that one. The Post reached out to DiAngelo for comment. Walsh's documentary is set to hit the silver screen on September 13th and marks the Daily Wire's first flick to release in movie theaters. I think What is a Woman was in theaters, wasn't it? The film is intended to function as a deconstruction of the anti-racism movement, similar to how its 2022 documentary, What is a Woman, examined gender ideology under a critical lens. He went undercover and feigned a deep search into his soul to investigate the movement. Walsh's documentary also featured him crashing a high-dollar race to dinner in which he cajoled liberal white women at the table to raise their glasses and toast to being racist. Yo, this one's looking really good. It looks like it's going to be bigger and better than What is a Woman? And this is probably one of the best things that Daily Wire has done. The Daily Wire is trying to get in the culture game, and they need to, because someone's got to build it. They've got better cultural values than the institutions. And with What is Woman, Matt has probably done more to call out the absurdity of woke gender ideology than anyone else. And with Am I Racist, it looks like they're set to do something similar for this quote unquote anti-racist, end quote, well, already quote unquote anti-racist movement, which it's literally just racism. They try to change the definition of the words so that they can create racial animosity. I'll tell you what I want. I want a big, beautiful American melting pot, but it's got to be under the American umbrella. Okay. So if you were, as I mentioned earlier, okay, I am older than Matt Walsh. I did not know that. But because I am part Asian, I cannot grow the beard. I lament this fact. I'm half kidding, although Matt has a stylish beard. I grew up at a time where we still had the old remnants. I should put it this way. I grew up at the end of this old world, the remnants of how these structures used to be. Blockbusting and redlining are racist real estate practices that existed into the 80s. But I was growing up at the end of that. And so the laws had been placed to shut these things down, but the practices still exist, and they still exist to this day in some form or another. So I'm just saying, like Tucker Carlson said, he was accused of claiming that white people are being replaced. And he was like, I never said white people. Like black Americans' interests are the same as white Americans' interests. And that's kind of the point. I don't care where you're from. I like immigration. I just think it's got to be controlled. We can't just open the floodgates and say anybody come do whatever you want. The system that they've built, people like Robin DiAngelo, creates racial tension and makes people hate each other. So I remember I had a buddy of mine, this dude that I knew in Chicago, and this is back during Obama's first term. He's a black dude. And we were at a skate jam, and he had family there, and I think it was his grandma, and she was just like, are you going to be voting for Obama? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. He's like, you have to vote for him. It could be the first black president. And he said, does that mean he's a good president? And I was just like, yeah. I was like, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's the real anti-racist statement. Just because Obama was black, that's why you're going to vote for him? I get it. Like, I understand that it's an older woman who experienced all this racist stuff, and now it's an opportunity for a visual change. But, it's a double-edged sword. I'll put it this way. You can't come from this world growing up with actual racism in the civil rights movement, which I get. It's bad stuff, because I didn't grow up in that. I grew up after they started banning it, though some of it still exists, right? Like, my family got attacked by racists. They vandalized our house and stuff like that. But we grew up saying we don't want race to be that issue. We want character and values to be that issue. These people are trying to bring it back. They're trying to go back in time to when people were looking at each other and hating each other based on race. I don't want to be there. And so what they demand is a black female president. That's what we have to have happen. And I'm like, no, we just need a good president, and we need to not judge people based on immutable characteristics that don't define their character. Certainly, there's a lot of people who argue, yes, but I look at pattern recognition. And because I see patterns, by all means, macro level pattern recognition, fair point, except it doesn't apply to the individuals. So I don't think the law should be equal. Like, people should be protected. I think that, I've had the libertarian argument is that businesses should be able to do whatever they want. If they want to ban someone who's black, let them just go out of business then. And I'm like, I don't agree. You're going to get enclaves. We don't want that to be the case. I'm a fan of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, but it's these people who are abusing all of that to their own ends. The world they would put together is going to eliminate distinctions between genders so that men are protected the same as women, but that non-whites get preferential treatment in government over whites. And the argument that whites have been benefited for too long. And then you've got a poor white guy living in a trailer wondering why he can't get a loan or go to school. These things happen. The worst part about it is Asians, this is the thing that bothers me the most. Hey, maybe because I'm Asian. They told, when the scandal with Harvard, I think it was Harvard, was that Asians had to score really high in SATs to get in, then white people, but black and Hispanic SAT scores were actually given a handicap. They were given a boost if they scored less. So they only had to score 1,000 or 700 or whatever, I forgot the numbers, An Asian had to score like 1,300. So there's some poor Asian kid living on the south side of Chicago. And he says, my dream is to go to Harvard. And then some Democrat politician says, oh, don't be silly, honey. You can't go to Harvard. You look too much like those people. That's insanity. That's the world they want. That was affirmative action. That makes no sense. There are stupid people who are Asian. There are smart people who are Asian. And there are stupid and smart people of all different backgrounds. The idea that because some Asians do well, or many, that because like you're going to handicap all Asians. This is why I am looking forward to Matt Walsh ripping apart their machine and mocking it brutally. So smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends. Become a member at timcast.com if you'd like to support our work. We got a lot of stuff happening. This is the frame, my friends. This is the great battle of the 2024 election. It's involving lawfare. It's involving, let's just say, surreptitious schemes from bad actors. And I imagine it'll only get worse. So if you want to see this show continue, timcast.com, click join us, become a member, because the weight and the burden, it is heavy. You know, and I'll tell you, it's we are a decently sized podcast operation. A lot of these bigger podcasts have small crews, maybe 3 or 4. We are looking to invest and expand, and we are doing that. And that's why we have several shows like Pop Culture Crisis, Tales from the Inverted World, Boonies HQ, and it's difficult. I'm not kidding. I work 16-hour days, my friends. I wake up, I do the morning show. I'm going to go exercise, then eat, and then get ready for the night show for Timcast IRL. Then by 11:30 or whatever, I'm in bed to wake up at 7 and get it all going again. So I appreciate your support. We'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. for Timcast IRL. I'm going to read super chats for those that are watching live. For the rest of you, we'll see you tonight at 8 p.m. Let's go. I'm only going to read a couple because we are at that point. Let's see. David Wilkins says, I know several duck hunters that joke about wanting to hunt, aka go grab park ducks and geese. Google user says, I work at a gas station and see people using EBT cash, our taxes, going to cigarette and alcohol addiction, our EBT food going to energy drinks and junk food. Your thoughts? Completely agree. So what people do is, they have an EBT card and they say, hey, what are you buying? What are you buying? And you're like, oh, I'm going to get this hot dog and a Coke. And it's like $7. And they go, no, let me buy it on my card for you. And then you buy cigarettes. What they do is they'll go to you and say, I'll buy you $10 worth of groceries for $7. And that's how they launder EBT. It's disgusting. But worse, EBT allows you to buy candy bars. It should not. You can't buy prepared food with it. So if you go to a gas station and they have the hot dog on the roller, you can't use an EBT card to buy it. You have to buy prepackaged cold hot dogs, bring them home and cook them. But you can buy a candy bar. Think about what that means. A hot dog is better for you than a candy bar, though it's still not the greatest of food. But you can't buy a prepared food. Okay, some people are going to walk into a gas station and say, I'm hungry, I need to eat now. They're going to buy prepackaged candy bars because they can eat it right now. They're going to buy prepackaged garbage. They're not going to buy stuff to cook meals. Some of them do. The system needs to be fixed. All right, we'll just grab one more here. The mayor of Searstown says, please invite Lynn Alden onto the show. She's a technical genius in the fiscal and international currents that affect big cultural issues. Could be interesting, my friends, could be interesting. We'll see. I really do appreciate all of you hanging out for this live morning show. Of course, be back tonight at 8 p.m. at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Follow me on X at Timcast. Thank you all so much for hanging out, and we will see you tonight.